last week we talked with the principal of St Thomas of Canterbury, Principal Steve Hart, about a series of 13 high schools, boys' schools, amazing mix of boys' schools, from private to public to integrated, Catholic, Presbyterian, state, high charge. Competition very much duplicates the Super 8 competition in the North Island, where all of the boys' secondary schools in the South Island play each other, whether it's football, rugby, obviously they'll probably be the premier sport, I would imagine, the South Island, hockey, debating, what else was it there be? Basketball, and a whole series of sporting contests as well as academic. Debating, yes, I've already said that. All right, but no, however, there has been an equal reaction to that, a suggestion that all those schools getting together to assist themselves and boys under their control is quote unquote deeply unethical, and particularly when it comes to the sport. Complaints have been made to the Sport Integrity Commission. I didn't even know we had one. And I would have thought that was an oxymoron, in actual fact, sport integrity, but there you go. But one of the signatories to the letter is our next guest, Darfield High School Principal Andy England. He said he believes the proposal, certainly the sporting proposal, is unjustified and discriminatory, deeply unethical, potentially a breach of human rights and the Education and Training Act, which are strong words to say, and I get that, but I am saying that. Well, he joins us now to expand further on that and why it's wrong for boys' schools to get together. Andy England, the principal of Darfield, joins us now. Welcome to the show, Andy. Lovely to have you on.
Kia ora, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Where's Darfield?
40 k's inland from Christchurch, towards the mountains.
Okay, so
surrounded by beautiful farmland.
So what's your principal town? Will that be Methven?
No, Darfield itself, which is a small town, but our zone goes all the way south to Rakaya and inland to Arthur's Pass, north to the Waimakariri. So it's a huge, huge zone.
That's a lot of school buses every day.
That's a lot of school buses, that's right. We've got a school roll of about 840 and growing. So Christchurch is filling. It is, yeah. Well, we start at year 7, so we've got a big crowd of young ones, but they'll be flowing through over the next few years. And there are just sections popping up everywhere out here as Christchurch spreads west.
Yeah, well, welcome to the South Island in actual fact in that respect, isn't it? There's massive internal migration going on at the moment. Listen, last week we had the principal, I'm sure you know him and I'm sure you're a mate of his really, St Thomas of Canterbury Principal Steve Hart on, explaining that this isn't aimed at anything other than all these 13 boys' schools getting together, than improving the lot of boys and their aegis, if you like, their shtick. Is boys' education. They think that by getting together, both in terms of sport, but also in terms of educational resources, they'll be able to combine synergies and improve the education for boys in the South Island. Now, I assume that you're opposed to the sporting side of that rather than the educational side. Have I got that right or wrong?
Yeah, I listened to that interview and I really enjoyed it actually. And I did a sabbatical last year on boys' education because we care about how boys are going in our co-ed schools as well. And Steve was a good inspirational person I interviewed as part of that sabbatical. So it was really interesting. The rugby is the first thing that's come out from that proposal. And I guess from all of our co-ed school principals' points of view, we've got nothing against the boys-only schools playing each other, but why would you exclude co-ed school boys from a boys' competition? So it's the exclusion of our students, of our boys in particular, that we're concerned about.
Except the risk of I gave you the precedent of the Super 8 competition in the North Island, which has been going for a long time now. Yeah. And as a result of that, I also know, because I come from Wanganui, that and Hawke's Bay, that co-ed schools in those areas have started their own competition. I think they call it the Central North Island competition. They have 8 schools from Waikato, again down to Hawke's Bay and Wanganui, playing in that. And that's been very successful as well. You don't think that that's a pathway that you might be able to adopt?
I think the context is a bit different, Michael. Within the South Island, most of the schools kind of know each other. We've got a good competition as it stands, the Miles Toyota competition here and the Southern Schools Comp in Otago and Southland. It's predominantly dominated by the boys' schools, no doubt, but it gives everybody an equal footing. It gives us a chance, and it gives all the other schools something to aspire to. So, if it's working already, we certainly don't see a need to change that. If the boy and I guess there's a bit of disappointment there that if the boys' schools do, then it would be good for us to get around the table and talk about it. So, I'm hoping that the sort of exclusive nature of what we've been talking about here. On reflection, they might go, well, we don't necessarily need the exclusive part of this. They can still do the association work around promoting boys learning within their context and share that and all the good stuff that Steve talked about without excluding boys in co-ed schools from the sports competition. If you think about the numbers in the South Island, Michael, sorry, cutting over there, but if you think about the numbers in the South Island...
It's just that I'm thinking now, Darfield wouldn't be big enough or good enough. I'm not just being nasty about it, but just size and stuff like that to ever compete against the Christchurch boys, the Christ Colleges, the St Thomas's, the Nelson Colleges, would they? You wouldn't be in the same. Are you in the same competition as they are?
Well, we are, but we've done we've a combined team, so we've combined with Lincoln and Ellesmere, and Rolleston College for quite a few years. Rolleston College are actually pulling out from comp at the end of the year because they've grown too big to be. We consider it unfair that they can be in with us. But that combined model has been about giving let's say 2 to 4 boys a year who are at that level from Darfield an opportunity to play at that level. And recently we did beat Christ's and St Bede's actually, and so Rangiora are also in that competition, and it's I guess it's hotting things up a little bit. It's unusual for us to beat those schools, and we are very excited about it. But it shows that there is some competition out there, and the great thing for us is it means that those boys who are performing at that level and have got those aspirations can continue to stay in their own rural, bring back the strength from that comp here.
So I'm assuming that you're worried. Rugby is the start of it, that it would then also spill through into football, which is a very popular sport also in the South Island. Rugby league potentially, I guess, basketball, cricket. There'd be a whole series of other sports that, if they were offered at a high level at boys' schools, would mean that your top sports people would leave your schools to go to those schools. Is that correct?
Well, I think there are probably 2 issues to pull from that. And the arts and cultural side of it as well. I mean, fundamentally, we've worked really hard since the Christchurch earthquakes here to be a sort of a collaborative relationships between schools. We've got whole zoning and stuff in place, but we've built a really effective principals association where we pride ourselves on collaborating well. So to see this come into it is disappointing for this one, for me, and for those other principals who are in that letter as well. Like we like to think we can solve our problems together. So if there's a problem, we raise it and then nut it out together. And that doesn't mean that people can't go off and do their own way. I mean, there are various other associations of schools. The Catholic schools, etc., have got their own associations. But fundamentally, for things like sport and access to, you're right, rugby is high profile. But we figure these things out together. So that's one aspect of it.
But if I was if I'm a parent of a really aspirational rugby player, say he wants to make a professional career, and he's going to Darfield, I'm not going to send him to Darfield, am I? If I can, I'll see if I can get a sporting scholarship to Christchurch Boys High or Christ, or St Thomas's, one of those schools that is at that upper echelon. I mean, isn't that just been the case for the last 20 years, Andy?
To a point. I mean, we're through the change that we've had. We've announced this change at the end of the year, so we'll be playing in the championship for next year. We directly lost a couple of boys in that process, and then to the schools that you're talking about there. I guess to a point we accept that, but there's also a limit. And I think if one of the concerns I see is if you set out, there'll be a perceived, and I'd say falsely inflated, elite there'll be a high grade. If you say boys rugby and co-ed rugby, Sky Sport and people will see the boys rugby as being the elite comp and the co-ed comp as being the second tier, if you like. And that's falsely inflated because currently we can demonstrate that we can beat some of those boys' schools.
But that happens already. I mean, you're sort of pushing the proverbial up the hill, if you don't mind, with the sharp stick. That happens already. You've got a top 4 competition at which, ironically, a co-ed school participated last year, fielding. But there is a co-ed competition separate for that, run by the New Zealand Rugby Union, run through the New Zealand secondary schools. That's been going for some years now. So isn't that just the reality of the situation?